And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 153rd episode of HEX Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie ALLin. I've got a great show for you tonight. This is the 153rd week that we're doing HEX Therapy Live, and there's a major milestone that's been hit in my crypto journey as a founder, and I think it relates to everybody here in the HEX ecosystem. We're going to be telling you about some free money that you have sitting there if you're a HEX staker. So you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. We got plenty of people watching live, thousands on the replay. Let's go.
It's from Maddie ALLin of HEX Therapy Live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Maddie ALLin's got that covered. He does emotional, feel-good, mind management, emotion stuff like as his gig because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like he helps heal people.
So thanks for tuning in tonight, and so excited to be bringing you this breaking news about Time Pays Me. We just reached over $1 million locked, people sending money to their future selves, and that came because a whale in the communist token came in and time locked actually it's up to $600,000 worth of COM tokens. 15% of the total supply of COM token. So we're going to talk about that tonight, reaching the landmark. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about how you can claim communist token, and then you'll be able to take it from there. We might even do a special episode of Game Theory Gang on this coming up this next week. So yes, very excited to share this with you. So to get to the heart of the matter, what most people care about is being able to claim your communist token if you're a HEX staker. Now, it doesn't matter when you staked your HEX, as long as the stake hasn't ended, you can still claim your COM token. I have a referral link that is a really good domain name. It's hexcommunity.com. So if you go to hexcommunity.com, then I think I get a 5% bonus and you still get the same amount that you would have gotten. So that's a pretty good deal for everybody. So I believe that's how the referral system works. You can do the research for yourself, but it goes a long way to help supporting the channel in these in the longest bear market of all time. If you use my referral link to go to the website communist.app, through my referral link, hexcommunity.com. Claim your COM token. So I'm going to share my screen here. I was also hoping to show you different explorers that work better on PulseChain than scan.pulsechain.com or even OtterScan. And normally I've started using this third option, which is scan.9mm.pro. So that stands for 9mm.pro. They have a block explorer. Previously, I had been very impressed with their block explorer, but right now it's not showing the correct values for a bunch of different tokens. And so while I do like this for being able to do my chain analysis, and maybe you are one of the 1,000 people that's taken my free chain analysis course, you can look in the description below. You can go to pls.academy and it will take you to a Telegram room. You can join that for free, and then it'll take you into a virtual classroom where you can pull up all my YouTube videos, my 4 different syllabi, a syllabus that gives you instructions on exactly how to learn chain analysis for free. It's pretty cool. So if you're like me and you like to do chain analysis, you like to understand what's going on chain, this is going to be relevant for you, because the course that I did, it's about a 10-hour course, but it doesn't include all this pulse chain stuff that I'm updating you about now. So there are 3 block explorers that an expert would be using here to do chain analysis on pulse chain to figure out where all the tokens are going. And so one of them, scan.9mm.pro, and then the other 2 you guys already know, scan.otter. What is it? It's otter.pulsechain.com is another one that we use a lot. And then scan.pulsechain.com as well. So those are the 3 browsers that you would use. And 9-inch, I guess, or not 9-inch, 9mm here is they're not displaying the values correctly for wrapped BTC because this is forked wrapped BTC that somebody has time locked in Time Pays Me, and so it shows up in the fee address. When we look at the fee address for Time Pays Me, it tells us what the total value is that's been locked so far. And here in GoPulse.com, we can see that the total value in this one address. Now there are 3 fee addresses that get distributed. And in total, people are only paying a 0.1% fee in total for using timepays.me when you want to be able to undo a hack by setting it up ahead of time, or you want to drip tokens to your future self so that maybe you dollar cost average out during a bull market, God willing. But so we take the value in one of the single, basically, so the 0.1% fee, which is 3 times cheaper than swapping. So it's such a good deal. That is put into 3 different fee addresses, basically. And no expectations, obviously, from those. But so this is the value of one of the addresses. And so because there are 3 addresses, we multiply it by 3, the number in this address. So $337 times 3 gives us the total amount of fees that have been paid to Time Pays Me, which is $1,011. And that's, so 0.1%, we multiply that by 1,000 and we get the total, the value of what has been locked. Now, if something was locked and then unlocked, we're going to still see a balance from that. And if any of the fee address money moves, then we'd see a balance of that. But I know personally that this fee address hasn't moved any money. And so we can see that 1,000 times 1,000 means that there's been just over $1 million worth of tokens locked on Time Pays Me. Pretty cool, especially considering the fact that whenever Ethereum launched and then did a 10,000x from its low that it hit after launch, or HEX went down, 85% from its starting price of 1/3 of a penny, went all the way down to 0.00005. That's 4 zeros and a 5, so a fraction of a penny. And then it went up 10,000x to 50 cents. And so if we imagine a 10,000x for people who are time locked in Time Pays Me, that's a pretty extreme number. That's a lot of value that could be paid out to people in the future. Let me see. I got to go to Wolfram Alpha to even figure out how much that would be. So 10,000 times 1 million. That is 10 billion. So that'd be 10 billion locked if Pulse did 10,000x from here. Cool. So that's pretty exciting. And so Johnny Sachs is the one who locked the communist tokens. He made a video about it. I recommend checking out that video. I've linked to the tweet in the description below, but I'll throw it into the live chat here. You can see his video of him time locking 12.1 quadrillion tokens for 3,000 days on a drip. So that's 8 years it's going to be dripping back to him. I think he said it comes out to about 1% a month, something like that. And so we can see here that with $200 of COM being locked, being showing up in one of the 3 fee addresses, if we do 200 times 3,000, that means the thumbnail is out of date. It's already $600,000 worth of COM that's locked. And you can see here that COM is up 83% on the day. So Johnny locked his whale share of communist tokens a little bit over a day ago now. And so the price has shot up. What this is telling me is, yeah, there's low liquidity here. Yeah. That's something that needs to be considered, but it also makes me want to believe that maybe people are believing in the market more because they realize that 15% of the supply just disappeared and can't be sold on the market because it's held in a smart contract now. So that's pretty exciting to me. I hope that you too can see the value. And I think the more whales I keep talking to, I think the more they become interested in this idea of with time pays me, you can be able to undo a hack. That's a big deal for whales. That's probably the number one value proposition. And then the second value proposition has to do with being able to have strong hands, but not only that, to prove it to the market. If you're a whale, you don't necessarily need to sell. And so why not prove that to the market by time locking? And you can do a hard lock where it all comes out in the future, or a drip where it comes out over time. So that's pretty exciting. I do not know what the price of communists will do going forward. I personally am excited about it. The communist that I claimed, I had paper handed it before I realized what Johnny's plan was, Johnny Sachs's plan. And so I ended up buying back the same, I think about the same amount of tokens that I had held previously because of my HEX stakes. And, I'm excited to see what it can do because I had the privilege of speaking to Johnny for a couple of hours about the information. It's the same information that he's put out publicly, but I had a little bit more time to digest it. And that's got me excited. I'm hoping to have him on Game Theory Gang coming up in the next week. And Johnny's a super smart guy. We have 2 super smart Johnnies in the community. Of course, Johnny Chaos and Johnny Sachs. And COM, it's got 4.6K liquidity here if we go over to DEX Screener, but it's spread out on lots of different pairs. And so I can show you when I search for COM token on DEX Screener, I have to make sure that I'm not looking at an imposter. Of course, it's got the contract address listed there. But it shows me here, if I read down the list of search results, it shows me that in V2 liquidity pools, COM is paired with Wrapped Pulse, and that's got 4.7K of liquidity. Then there's another 8.2K of liquidity with a Pulse X and COM. And then there's another 4.7K of liquidity with HEX, if I'm reading this correctly. And then there's also 15K of liquidity between COM and Atropa. And then does this mean that there's 4K of liquidity between COM and HEX from Ethereum? I think that might be the case. But when I'm looking down the list here, then there's a liquidity pool here between COM and BBC, big bonus coin that just launched recently. And that's got 2.1K of liquidity. So you can see here that that overall, you might consider that to be relevant to how you're judging the price of COM. I think we all learned in the last bull market that what things are paired to matters because of order routing in decentralized exchanges and because of Hart's law, which says that something can pump more if it has lower liquidity. So I think this is something we will want to talk to Johnny Sachs about, because I think he has a lot of important insights into the exact way that he set up the liquidity here. And I can see that there's lots of volume that's happened. There's $45,000 worth of volume just on the COM WPLS pair. Now, for me, when I'm trying to get the best price, I'm giving you guys all the alpha today. When I'm looking for the best price on any token I'm buying, what I'm doing is I'm going actually to Piteus. Let me make sure I give you the right address for that. I think it's Piteus.io. Let me double check. I'm going to double check on my bookmarks here and make sure I'm giving you guys the right website. app.piteus.io. I'm going to drop that link in the chat here. I don't think I've talked about that before, but because of their order routing and being able to avoid bot attacks where they're taking a small fee, basically the bot is I even saw it on chain where there was a case I was buying a token and the bot also bought 30 cents of the token. Maybe I was buying $100 of something, but it like sandwich attacked me basically, or whatever it's called. So, and that's when I was using the PulseX DEX. But when I use Piteus, because it's routing through different DEXs, it's going to get me the best price. Usually, I think. So yeah, that's really important, especially when we believe that there's a bright future ahead for crypto, because if your crypto goes up 100x or 1000x during the next bull run, then the fact that you got 0.1% more crypto or 1% more crypto out of your trade, that once you multiply by 100, 1% is equal to the entire amount of principal that you were dealing with. And certainly if you're doing a 10,000x, it's like 100 times your principal. That is the difference between getting a 1% better deal now. And so that is it's super underrated, as the chat is saying, and it's I think exciting for me to tell you about it, because I want you to get the best deal possible so you can do well in crypto, and so that the bots don't get rich. Let me see. So yeah, so when you're using, I use Piteus in order to purchase COM token or anything that I would normally get on PulseX, and I can see how it's routing through the different DEXs. It's routing through Bucks, DEXs. It can route through, I guess, 9inch. Now that that's launched, it can route through PulseX, and so we can see all that happening if you search the details when you're comparing how many tokens you can get. And I would encourage you to just prove it to yourself by going to app.pulsex.com and going to app.piteus.io and comparing what the output is based on how much you're buying. And then you can thank me later. You can thank me by using my referral link to claim your COM token, which is hexcommunity.com. Pretty great domain, huh? And I'm going to drop that in the chat here. But I think in order for it to be activated, you need to do it in the browser that you're doing your crypto on. So hopefully it might be a different browser than what you're using for YouTube, but I just want to make sure you have the right link, hexcommunity.com. Is Piteus better than Portal X swap? So Portal X really rocks, in my opinion. I haven't done price comparisons, but what I used Portal X for was being able to do cross-chain swapping. And that's available now, which is pretty incredible that there hasn't been a lot of tutorials on it that I've seen. but I just thought of it one day because I had $100 worth of tokens stranded on Binance chain from when I was experimenting with that and didn't really get into Binance Smart Chain at all. But I had $100 on there, but I didn't even have enough Binance gas tokens to bridge back to Ethereum. And so let me make sure I give you the right domain name for this one too. It's portalxswap.io. Portalxswap.io allows you to, connect a wallet that has coins on Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain. I don't know, it might even work with Bitcoin. But the point is that instead of using a bridge, you can use this as your cross-chain swap feature. And even if you don't have enough gas, like I didn't have enough gas in my Binance MetaMask account, I was still able to do the swap, which is pretty incredible. And the fee was pretty low. Okay. So that's really exciting to me. And it looks like actually they have a tab now for limit orders too, which is pretty exciting. So shout out to portalxswap.io if you want to do a cross-chain swap to be able to get onto Pulse Chain. You can get from, and who knows, why don't you shop around and see, maybe you'll get a better fee situation too than a bridge might offer you. I think I waited about the same amount of time that I would for a bridge transaction, about 15 minutes. But thinking back, I might have done one transaction that was even a little bit faster than that. So that's something you can check out. So what else have people been locking in Time Pays Me? I know I locked a bunch of Pulse and PulseX in there myself, and it looks like that's the case where people have, I think I did a tweet about it recently that people had blocked up, was it over 3 billion RH coins between Pulse and PulseX? It's been growing, and I think the adoption will continue to grow as we go throughout the bull market. Is really people, if you had a good experience before with time locking like I did, even though we had a blow off top in HEX, but if I'm honest with myself about how well I did with time locking, I never would have been able to get the gains that I got. And so that's why timepays.me is a really cool tool that I, not only created with Future Us, but also, and Chris from hexsearch.io, but it's something that I really believe in, and I think it does well. Oh, way more than I just said. So there's been 8.3 billion Pulse and PulseX put into Time Pays Me drips and time locks. So that's a pretty cool statistic. And that compares, of course, the supply of Pulse and PulseX is higher than the supply of HEX. But if we compare how much HEX has been time locked in the HEX smart contract, that's, my estimate was about 120 billion between the two chains of HEX on Pulse Chain and HEX on Ethereum. While we're on the Twitter sphere right here, the polls that I've been doing lately have been getting more votes than ever, which is pretty incredible. There were 1,300 people who voted when I asked which token is better and why. EHEX, PulseX, and Pulse, or other and comment. And so this is kind of a gauge of like what's contrarian right now. What are most people thinking is better? EHEX was seeing some love, seeing some green candles, and it got 30% of the votes. PulseX got 22% of the votes, and Pulse won with 37% of the votes in terms of, which I find really interesting because there were a lot more people who sacrificed for PulseX. Now, if you look at how far down each of these tokens are compared to where they've been in the past, even PulseX hasn't gone down as much as EHEX has. So that's kind of interesting too, that that EHEX isn't the lowest one. And I think part of that is because PulseX hasn't necessarily gone back up off of its lows the same way that EHEX has. You saw EHEX get down so low that it ended up doing a 300% run here earlier this month, or I guess last month. And PulseX, I think, maybe had gotten 150% off of its lows. But yeah, Pulse is still very popular here in this poll, which so I find that pretty interesting. I think there was another poll here somewhere. Oh yeah, whether people were happy or unhappy that I interviewed the Hex whale, and that almost got 1,400 votes, but I think I reported on that last week, so you can see that here in this episode. And the views on Twitter, if you're a Hex content creator and you are not putting if you're not linking your StreamYard to Twitter and only linking it to YouTube, I think you should do both, because you can see here, I got over 1,000 views on this episode of HEX Therapy Live last week on the X Twitter sphere. And if we go to YouTube, how many views do we get there? Now, the views on YouTube are counted, I think, a little bit more religiously, but yeah, 2.1K. So 50% more views. Not bad, eh? So that's 3,000 views total. And the reason why I look at views, because I'm thinking to myself, it's not as important to me how many people are watching, but who's watching. We have a lot of whales that watch this show, a lot of people who are into self-improvement and have been following along in the community for a long time, people who are community leaders and builders, people who represent the core of the community by hitting the like button, by the way, or get out, I always say. But it also tells me about the sentiment of the market. I think people check the price charts and then they decide to watch or not watch, partially based on price performance. And whether people are watching also, I think, helps determine whether they're thinking about buying or selling and all those good kinds of things, right? People are supposed to do their own research in crypto. Well, watching YouTube shows like this that have been going every single week for 153 weeks, that is one way that people learn, through a variety of methods, right? Whether you're doing chain analysis, you're keeping up on Twitter, following all the different content creators. This community has the largest number in crypto. Hex has the greatest number of content creators that are unpaid out of any crypto. So that is something to brag about for sure. I told you guys I was playing around with yield farming on 9inch. The price of 9inch went down because I was providing like 15 or like 1.5K liquidity between 9inch and USDC. And I did that for like a day or two. And I'm like, okay, I got a few bucks. I got $30 worth of BBC token. Cool. I got tons of impermanent loss. I got $300 worth of impermanent loss, which ended up being a buy for 9inch token, which I did not sacrifice for. So I was happy to pull my liquidity, my small pitiful amount of liquidity, because I had gained more 9inch tokens, and I hope that they go straight up from here. I don't know that they will, but I didn't feel like eating any more impermanent loss at the moment. So excited to see what that will do, just leaving it alone for now. But this stream, if you didn't check it out, on the stream that we did on Halloween, where I dressed up as Hexy Bastard and we talked to him for a couple of hours. It was great. It was a really great episode, very lighthearted, very informational. And so go ahead and check that out if you haven't seen it yet. Let's see. I had Twitter opened up here at some point. Yeah. So, and then definitely watch the video that Johnny Sachs made of him locking up his coins on Time Pays Me, because that's an extra source of a tutorial that you can have. Speaking of tutorials, I should probably make a tutorial for how to claim COM token. If I read the tokenomics correctly, which I'll be honest, they're very complicated. If you go to hexcommunity.com, and it'll take you to the communist.app site, you can read like what the tokenomics are here, how everything is distributed. Like I said, it's very complicated, but at the end of the day, what you need to know is if you create a hex stake and it hasn't been ended yet, you can claim COM. You can go to hexcommunity.com and claim your COM token. You can see how much they would be worth. The way that I would do that on Ethereum to make sure I'm not overpaying gas and losing money, because you can do this on Ethereum. COM is live on Ethereum and on Pulse Chain. On Pulse Chain, you don't have to worry about gas fees unless you were dealing with maybe less than one T-share. If you were dealing with 1,000th of a T-share, you might lose more money to gas, but hey, it's still only going to be a few cents that you're losing. So I would go to COM here, just one of the pairs that has decent liquidity, and then I would close out of this ad, and I would go down here on Dex Screener. I would hit the rocket button there, and then I would plug in the amount of COM. They have a little calculator down here where you can see the amount of COM. Just to give you a rough idea of how much money you might have sitting there. I think even before COM just recently did like a 3x or a 5x or whatever it did, I think, was it coming out to maybe like $1 or $10 per T-share? Most of my T-shares are locked pretty long, and that goes into the equation for how much COM you can claim. But even if we look at maybe like $100 worth of COM, that's 1,000 million billion trillion. So you get 2 trillion COM right now at today's prices are costing you $100 USD. Or if you're switching that, if you're trying to sell your COM, then you might eat some slippage with some, if you're a whale and you're claiming it, you might eat some slippage for sure. But you might have several $100s if you're a dolphin of COM. You might even have a couple $1,000s worth of COM there. So definitely something to check on. I believe that there's a small amount that you're losing as time passes if you don't claim it, but I believe that amount is very, very small. So like, I haven't even gotten to all my wallets where I can claim COM, because I know the COM is still going to be there. It's not like dripping out at 1% a week or something. It's just like there might be some tiny slight advantage to not waiting forever to do it. And then whenever you claim your COM using hexcommunity.com, you're going to make a decision on how much of your COM to stake through communist.app, through the native smart contract. And so what I did is I let 25% of it just ride. And what's going to happen is I could go back and claim that COM at any time, but it's going to be earning 5% APY, paid in COM token. And I can't go back later and take my liquid COM and get that 5% APY. So you have to decide when you mint your COM, you have to decide whether you're going to be earning that 5% on it or not. If I wanted to only get 50% of my COM out and leave the other 50% in there, I could leave it in there for a week or a month or a year, and you come back at any time and get that 50%. But then I would lose the 5% bonus that I'm getting. So that's, kind of relevant for when you're trying to pick apart the tokenomics. I was so lost when I claimed my COM a month or two ago. I ended up copy and pasting everything in here and plugging it into ChatGPT just so I could ask a few questions. But now that I've heard Johnny Sax's HEX has a secret weapon plan, I start to see all the genius that Kodiak put into this smart contract. My first read was that it was overly complicated, but now that I'm more familiar with it and I've had some time to digest it, I think it's all super brilliant. What's my thoughts on Rabby Wallet? I haven't used it yet, but I hear Tangent talking about it. So for me, it's a high bar to change my wallet. I already pay my taxes. And so if JP Mosquito is tracking me on MetaMask, like, I don't love that. I don't like it, but I don't know if that's enough to get me to change wallets. I might feel differently in the future, but that's kind of where I'm at with it now. If you're somebody who, you know, is more into privacy and who, you know, has researched and believed that MetaMask is selling you out, then there might be a time in that you would want to go look at other wallets. And maybe that's part of doing your own research at all times. You know, I'm always weighing the options. So if you don't like MetaMask, people talk about Rabby Wallet. People also talk about the internet money.io wallet that's native to Pulse Chain that was created by KG. Look, I also think once Richard Hart releases his wallet, I'm going to use that shit too. So another interesting thing about COM is that if you have a long HEX stake that's already out there, you can claim COM tokens now, and then you'll get to claim COM tokens again when your stake ends. COM is a system that is kind of designed to reward people for staking, but also if you restake from the same wallet, you get more and more bonuses from COM. Or if you stake from a fresh wallet, when you create the new stake, then you can claim more COM. It's a perpetual, ongoing free claim type of thing. So it never ends as long as the HEX smart contract keeps going. And that's where Johnny Sachs is pointing out that there's this coupon rate. And we're going to have him on the show so he can explain it better. But that's a term that's used in, I think, the bond market, in the world of bonds, which is a bigger market, I believe, than even the stock market and crypto. It's definitely bigger than crypto. The bond market is a big deal, and they have this coupon rate thing that that is relatable to communists, because if you create a HEX stake, then you can claim a certain amount of communists. And what Johnny had pointed out is that right now, the percentage of communists that you can claim is equivalent to 5% of the value of your HEX stake. He actually did a tweet about that today that I was looking at. Here it is. The coupon rate and the corresponding COM and HEX ratio. And there's a lot of smart things that you can extrapolate in how both of these two smart contracts work together, how they play off each other based on knowing the tokenomics and having a deep understanding. When I talked to Johnny Sachs, he had said that he was thinking about all this for 11 months. And it shows in his level of sophisticated understanding and ability to speak on all this. But so he mapped out what I believe on this axis here, it's showing the price in dollars, but it's of HEX and COM. And it's showing, and here's a price chart here of how COM's been performing so far. And you can see that it, you know, even a couple of days ago, it might have been at the 5% coupon rate, and now it's at 10 or almost 15% coupon rate. And what that means is, if I create a new HEX stake for $1,000, if there's a 10% coupon rate, then I could immediately go to Communist or hexcommunity.com, and I could, I believe, claim 10% of the value of my HEX back liquid. in Com token, which is pretty incredible. And that's something I'm also going to have to do my own research on and look into, whether the percent coupon rate that Johnny is showing here, whether that's over the entire life of the stake or in the starting bonus, because there's a difference between the starting bonus and what you get in the end. So really exciting to see how all this will extrapolate. And basically at the end of the day, I really thought that Johnny Sax's idea of Hex having a secret weapon, he was advertising that for 3 months without explaining to people what it was. And then finally he told us, and I didn't see it coming, that it would be communist token that would be Hex's secret weapon. But now I'm starting to see how his plan actually could be so brilliant that it might bring lots of attention to Hex and a lot of success to Hex. And so that's another reason why I'm so excited about it, because I'm a Hex-centric channel. So yeah, I think in order for the audience to become the most educated, and of course this piques all of our interest, we're 3 years into doing weekly shows on Hex and still discovering more and more things that are coming out. So that's pretty cool. So we might spend multiple episodes trying to unravel the plan and the beautiful design between Hex and communist token. It's pronounced communist, like community. That's right. Okay, cool. So what else? Let's see. What else do we know? Oh, somebody did an AI. This was Gold Key. Did like an AI map explaining the concepts behind Hex, which is beautiful. It makes it look a lot more understandable than the white paper, but it breaks down key concepts into the blockchain basis, being on Ethereum and Pulse chain, being secure and transparent. It shows Hex being a certificate of deposit that is mapped to the ideas of time-locked savings and earning yield over time. The understanding of Hex is also based on staking, which includes locking up Hex tokens, earning yield, and longer and bigger stakes earning more yield. Understanding Hex involves ending stakes, which is after the term of completion, and early end stake penalties. That's something you need to keep in mind. Before you end your stake, go to hexcommunity.com and claim your COM token. Also go to hedron.pro and claim your Hedron tokens. Another part of understanding Hex is yield and penalties. There's a variable payout each day, and penalties support the system. And then understanding price appreciation includes staking supporting the price and potential increase in token value. So beautiful, so underrated, this this post that Gold Key made. I did a throwback. I retweeted, somebody had put out one of the first episodes of Game Theory. Well, before it was called Game Theory Gang on Tuesday nights, the show was called Quant Gang, referring to quantitative analysis. And I had done an interview with Kareem the Shark for episode 6 that ended up being one of people's favorite shows of all time. So definitely check that out. People have been making clips of Game Theory Gang and including, concepts that we're talking about in video form. So shout out to all of you who have been contributing in that way. We really appreciate it. If we say something smart, not everybody's going to have the time to watch a 2-hour video. And so when you chop it up into 2-minute clips, that's super valuable. Already talked about that. Com token. Yep, that's what this episode is about. I was listening, as I always do, to Crypto Chat 7, Crypto 7, as he's known on YouTube. He's been putting out great content as always, and I felt so inspired by his constant reference to everybody becoming so rich in Hex and Pulse Chain that they will have such a surplus of money that they will be able to feed stray cats in Monaco. Not just feed them anything, but they'll be fed king prawns, which I had to look up. Looks like a type of fish. So I was inspired to create this. At first, it just showed a super yacht in the background, and I said, "Hey, that should be a DeLorean, shouldn't it?" So that's cool. That's fun. As we reported on Tuesday, Hexy Bastard has been getting adoption by creating single-sided staking rewards for other communities, such as DBI token. And this is a extremely popular character in the broader crypto ecosystem named The Dev, or Hey, It's Me, The Dev on Twitter. And he's actually also announcing that he's putting out season 2 of his hilarious TV show about silly characters who are all competing to become the next top crypto developer. It's an extremely funny show, and he did a shout out video to Hexy Bastard here, and to the Richard Hart community that got 30,000 views outside of our space. He admitted that he had the wrong take on Richard at first, and so that is a big deal. Very cool. And this is literally just a few seconds ago on this stream. So I appreciate you all tuning in. Let's see. Do we have anybody in the comments here? We do. Also, if you haven't joined my Telegram group, it's free, and I post in there about once a day. It's where you can find information about when I'm streaming, what my ideas are that I'm putting out there on Twitter. So don't let the YouTube algorithm decide what you watch. And you never know what kind of smart stuff I'll put in there, so that you can stay up to speed on all the tools that you need in order to succeed in DeFi. I also have a website called allmylinks.com/allin, where you can see all my different projects. You can also get a hardware wallet from my referral link. That's a must-have, in my opinion, if you're holding more than about $1,000 worth of crypto. At this point, I would hold on to that using a hardware wallet. What's up, Future Us? McSlammin, good to see you there. Saying congrats for the project reaching over $1 million time locked. Very cool. PulseX says 4 trillion com is worth 19 cents, not $199. Huh. Well, that would invalidate all this now, wouldn't it? Thousand, million, billion, trillion. No, I think I'm right. I think it's $200. That's what Dex Screener's showing me. As long as I don't have a 0 off. But if PulseX is showing the wrong price for com, or maybe you're maybe you didn't put in enough zeros there. If people believed the PDI narrative, surely they can get behind com. It might be a slow burn, but it looks promising to grow the active wallet number. For sure. And as Johnny Sachs was saying, if the coupon rate got up to 50% or 100%, then people can make 15-year stakes for free. And he's got, I think, a lot of analytics that he can show us, spreadsheets that are explaining exactly how that would work. It's almost boggles the mind, but as I said, I've now listened to multiple hours of his content. He was on Cabana Crypto's happy hour show, or special edition show, with Crypto Coffee just a day ago. And that was like a 2-hour stream that I really enjoyed. So definitely check that out if you want to see about Hex's secret weapon with Johnny Sachs and learn more about communists, learn more about the game theory there. And of course, we'll have him on the show ourselves. Academaciated had a great experience using Portal X. Awesome. Hex Enthusiast. Hey, thanks, Maddie. Good to see you there. Melf Tony. Good evening, fellow Hexicans. D3AB says, once I hit my ink position target, I plan to time lock 40% in a 7-year drip and 10% in a 15-year drip. That's really cool. You can imagine what kind of use cases the community might build for ink in the future. So that'll be really exciting. Melv Tony says EHEX is sitting at about a penny and PHEX is at about 1.5 cents. PulseX 4 zeros and a 6.4 for Pulse. I'm sorry. And Pulse X is 4 zeros and a 1.9. Pateus works well for comms, says Hex for the win. This is also breaking news. I saw in Tiffany Fong's thumbnail right before I went live that Sam Bankman-Fried has been found guilty of all 7 counts, including fraud, by a jury in the Southern District of New York. I get the joke now. Okay, Hex is spelled Hex, not com. Prawns are shrimp. Okay, perfect. King prawns are prawns, crustaceans like crabs and lobsters. You're welcome. Good evening, Bambi Stone. Well, there you have it, folks. I've given you the equation so that you can claim your COM tokens. If you have any open Hex stakes, you'll be able to claim some now and some more at the end of the stake, I believe. You can go to hexcommunity.com to support me and claim your COM tokens there. And yeah, just hit a milestone in Time Pays Me today, and hoping for the 10,000x in our entire community on all of our coins, so that you know, people can be living large and laughing easy, and you know, so you can find your purpose in life as more than money, and come back to HEX Therapy live to get your Sun Wealth Syndrome discussions and all that good kind of stuff. So Mel, you're awesome, Maddie. You have such a kind spirit. We are lucky to have you. Hey, thanks. I really appreciate the positivity. You guys rock. And so with that being said, thanks for tuning in today. Hexy Babe, good evening. Armando, good to see you guys. So with that being said, until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
It's from Maddie ALLin of HEX Therapy Live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Big videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Maddie ALLin's got that covered. Does emotional, feel-good, mind management, emotion stuff, like, as his gig, because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like, he helps heal people.